Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is John Viglotti, and on behalf of OTC Markets, as well as our co-host, Zach Small Cap Research, we're very pleased you joined us for the Life Sciences Investor Forum. Our first presentation is from VolitionRX. Please note you can submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Cameron Reynolds. He's the Chief Executive Officer of VolitionRX Limited, which trades on the New York Stock Exchange American tier under the symbol VNRX. Welcome, Cameron.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining. I'll go through the slides in about 20-25 minutes and happy to answer any questions afterwards. We've got a lot going on, so I'll try to keep it moving. It's a very exciting time for us. Firstly, our mission, and this is one we take very seriously. Our mission is to save lives and improve outcomes of millions of people and animals worldwide. And I think we're well on the way in doing that in animals, and I think now we're right on the cusp on the human side as well with our groundbreaking platform. So what are we and what do we do for those people new to the company? We focused for the whole of our existence, which is now 14 years, on epigenetics. Epigenetics means above genetics. Everyone else has been focused on the DNA. We're focused very much on the epigenetics. And think about it the other way, in this terms of a computer, the epigenetics is the software of your body, the DNA is the hardware. Both are very important, but now the epigenetics have really come to the fore. As you'd have to say, particularly in oncology, the DNA has not met all of its promise, particularly in early detection of cancer. We're targeting with exactly the same platform. This is all one platform. This is how we can do it. Oncology, cancer, and sepsis. So these are both obviously massive opportunities, both in human and in animals. We have exactly the same epigenetic structures, the nucleosomes and the rest, and it's also useful in screening and monitoring. So we launched first in the veterinary space, which is now licensed to a large number of companies, which I'll get to later. And our focus now is on licensing and very, very active this month. We've been working on very large data packages so that we can license, and that's all now come to a head. So it's going to be a very big end of the year for us. And a lot of multiple opportunities in the short term, both in the sepsis space and also in oncology. And we've engaged a company called Pharma Ventures in the oncology space because of the large numbers of technologies we're licensing, large uses for our technology we're licensing, and that's well underway. And so I'll get to that as well. So you probably heard this from a few companies, what sets us apart. This slide really shows some very key things. What we do, what we look for is extremely unique, but the mode of detection is actually very old and very well launched worldwide, ELISA platform. I'll go through what the structures we're after, but given that we've been at this for as long as we have an extremely extensive and we think very, very strong patent portfolio, which is of granted and a lot of new ones we've been writing in the last few years. So I think 53 different families of patents. The other very important thing on this slide is those bubbles in the middle. The left-hand side is what we launched on, which is microtiter plates. Very quick and easy to get lots of people using your test. No special equipment needed, and that can be run in pretty much any lab in the world. The second one is the i10, which is now owned, it was owned IDS, now it's owned by PerkinElmer. And we can run our test on that in 45 minutes, coming down to 15 now, which is actually extremely important in sepsis, as you'll hear in a minute, and you probably understand why timing is so important in sepsis. The middle one was launched by our friends and colleagues at Antech, which is owned by Mars, the biggest pet company in the world. We licensed to them, and they've adapted to that little machine, which is absolutely quite remarkable. And I think, to my knowledge, the first point-of-care machine for cancer ever developed. And that's in dogs. And then the last one is less than 15 minutes, still under development, which is a lateral flow. So we're getting close to being able to do our range of tests on a take-home kit, and it's also quantitative. So extremely exciting platform. The other thing very noteworthy on this slide, it's a big one for us, is our tests are truly routine. You hear that a lot, but not many companies actually are routine. We define routine as can be run in any lab very easily on a very wide range of equipment, and not in a back cave in one state or somewhere else in the world. We are looking to be a platform, and if you are going to be getting to hundreds of millions of tests per year, you need to be on a platform that can be run in many, many labs worldwide, and that's exactly what our aim is and what our platform is. So I'll move on. So commercial strategy. We're a small company. We think the technologies we've developed are far bigger than we can possibly commercialize. Obviously, oncology and sepsis are huge, as the vet market is as well. So our aim has been to develop, which we've done, get intellectual property, which we've done, license to large players, which we've done in the vet space very successfully. And now we're well and truly underway in both oncology and sepsis with this large data points now ready. We're leveraging their networks and their platforms. Why would we bother launching our own platforms when the big companies, the big diagnostic companies, have labs, their machines in pretty much any lab in the world? So, and we can adapt our tests to those machines, so it can be launched very quickly once they've done all the regulatory work themselves. Our underlying principles are low capex and low opex. Again, that's completely unique from what we understand, and we'll always keep our tests as low cost and routine as possible. For example, the test from Antec goes to the vet at $35 a test, so very affordable, and we aim to be very similar in the human space, very, very affordable. So how do we do this? Why do other people not do it? When you're looking for very rare markers like DNA mutations or circulating tumor cells, it's a very rare event in the blood. Our markers are epigenetic. These are the nucleosomes. Every 180 base pairs, there's a nucleosome in your chromatin. The body cuts up the chromatin to be recycled. Therefore, someone with cancer, fact, has a higher level of these in circulation. And we can measure them very simply on the ELISA platform because the changes are genome-wide, so there's a huge number of them. And it's not just the number of nucleosomes, it's also the histone modifications and a wide range of other structures, which are known to be very different. And if you look at, there's also CTCF. Between the nucleosomes is also we've now realized, and others have, that there's small chunks of very epigenetic rich DNA and proteins as well, which I'll get to later. And we are the chromatin fragment experts. We don't actually measure cancer and sepsis itself. We measure your chromatin fragments either from the chromatin itself or the body's immune response, which I'll get to. So exactly the same platform. It's incredibly unique, can do all of these different things and different use cases, but it's 90% the same between humans, animals, and also cancer and sepsis. And I can show you why. It's really quite incredible. So we launched in vet first for a whole lot of reasons. It's a very good market, a very big market. There's 80 million dogs in the US, and screening those of screening age means 25 million dogs, plus monitoring, if we launch that as well, could easily be, again, 10 or 20 million tests per year, and add cats onto that, it's the same number again. The rest of the world, it's a huge market. And I'm sure we're all aware how much we spend on our animals is quite incredible. And it's a tragedy how many of them die from cancer when it really doesn't have to be. So our strategy, which I think we've achieved very successfully, is to license it out to the big players. The big ones of note there, the others are also very good, but smaller players in different countries. IDEX, Heska, which is now owned by Antec, which is owned by Mars, which is those are the two biggest companies in the world. And Fujifilm just launched in Japan. And Little Point of Care has just launched as well. So it's fantastic. I think that they're outselling now. We're now available in 16 countries and growing. And again, that's all done by our partners. And the economics are very good for us. We provide the key components and we get between $5 and $13 per test. And as I said, Heska, which is Mars, is selling them to about $35 for the vet. So very affordable. This is a little beauty I was talking about before. It's actually size of a toaster, actually a smallish toaster, and that will tell you in the liquid tumors in dogs at about a 90% specificity, about 3/4 of the cancers. It's really quite accurate considering that is a point of care and a very low cost test. It was just launched a few quarters ago, and they're ramping up now. So very exciting, and that's we expect to continue through this year and next, and available in the labs as well. So very exciting. Oh, I went through that 10% in under 10 minutes, cost effective, and allows the vet to have that conversation with the pet parent very quickly and easily. So very exciting, as well as the other companies which all sell in centralized labs, which can also be very useful. So the test in dogs is just the starting gun, not the finishing line. There are a lot more applications in monitoring, screening in cats. We've made some very good progress there. We had to adapt the platform a little bit because cats, as you probably imagine, have a lot less blood than a dog or a human, and also a lower level of nucleosomes overall. So we've had to bring the limit of quantification down, but that's well underway, and we're very happy with the progress there. And we've also got it working on a machine, the big machine, the i10, and we're talking to partners now about licensing that platform with the potential of also getting more milestone payments. So progress in all those areas, and expect to see more information on the automated platform development and the cats and the monitoring in the next few quarters, as well as the ramp on the dog side. So Antec, which is part of Mars, have given us already $23 million up to date for the exclusivity at the point of care in dogs on that machine. It's ramping. Last year we sold just under 58,000 tests, and we sold over 60,000 already in the first half. So it's picking up, and we're on target to between double and triple the tests sold, obviously, by the end of this year. And we expect it to rise a lot through next year as the ramp really starts on the point of care and in Japan. So exciting. NETosis. Now, this really came to us during the pandemic when one of our German colleagues, I actually love this photograph, and I'll tell you why, said what we measure could really help in the pandemic. And we thought, how is that? We measure chromatin fragments. Quite a simple answer, though it's something which I must confess, I'm not a scientist. I did not know about in 2020 too much, very little. On the right, that is a net, neutrophil extracellular trap. This is what stops you dying from most pathogens. These come right away from the white cells. They spew out long chains of chromatin fragments to trap a virus or a pathogen. I think here they're marked as blue. And through a mixture of poison and entrapment, they save your life pretty much every day. People think of antibodies and T cells and a range of other things, which are very important, but they take a lot of time. These are what stop you dying immediately. So these are long chains of chromatin fragments. Those little dots there are our old friends, the nucleosome. So what do we measure? Chromatin fragments, nucleosomes. So each one of those dots shows up as a hit on our assay. So this shows up like a Christmas tree in a most basic platform. And you look on the left, we labeled our test green. So you can see the long net coming out there. It shows we measure the net itself. So it's the angel. It saves your life each and every day. If you didn't have this, you wouldn't survive very long at all. But it has a dark side. It's called a dysregulated immune response. These go a bit crazy. You have a cytokine storm, and these fill up your organs, also cause a lot of damage because obviously they're slightly toxic, which is what kills the pathogens. And you can have up to 1,000 times a normal healthy level in someone dying of COVID or sepsis. So, and we can measure them very quickly, very cheaply, very easily with our test. And I think going forward, every single person's going to want to know their background level of nets, because if you have a high level, you're in bad shape very quickly with sepsis or COVID or influenza. If you're low, you're in pretty good shape. And the trajectory is extremely important. So it's something which should be tested a lot. So you're probably all familiar with sepsis at some level. It's horrifying. It doesn't discriminate in its deadliness. Old people, it's the biggest cause of death in children under 5 in the developing world, and also a lot of children, as you probably aware, in Europe and Australia and the US, and 7.6% increased chance in mortality for every hour you're not diagnosed. So you want to know quickly, and you want to know easily and cheaply in a test that can be run very commonly, routinely at the point of care or in a lab. That's exactly what we've got. How is it currently measured? There's some combinations of very complicated bodily functions, things like blood pressure and urine, all those kind of things, called SOFA or Apache. But that's not really a screening test because it's complicated and it's not a blood test by any means. So there's a real need out there for a low-cost routine test. That's what we're providing, we believe. So how do we show from our great intellectual property, the great way of measuring netosis, that this is worth someone licensing? Remember, our strategy is to license. We have got some massive studies which are now all finished, and the data has almost all been completed. There's one study still just doing a bit, but some of the bigger studies had up to 14 million data points, very large amount of studies, extremely well defined studies. And I'll get to them in a second. And they're all being revealed at ESICM, or a lot of them in early October. We had a key opinion leader meeting of the top people in the planet. You can see the press release. And they are extremely impressed with our test and the data. And all of those things we're looking to show, incredibly important. Are you going to die? Are you going to need organ support, length of stay in intensive care? And all of those would need many time points, often per day of the test. So a huge test to really show your NETs level. This is the studies. I won't talk too much about them. I'll keep this moving, but I think as a package, they're probably the biggest studies going on in sepsis right now. And that data is all ready, and we'll start the big presentations just in a few weeks. And it's already being shown to our partners who are looking to partner with, so our potential partners, large diagnostic companies worldwide. So what's our focus? So now we've got the intellectual property filed, and we have shown that we believe that it works very well in a range of different areas. We're getting it working faster and faster on the platforms, like from 45 minutes down to 15, the point of care. The data analysis going, as I said, it's promising, and it's consistent across cohorts. And the data rooms are now ready, and we are in the process now of discussions with big companies on licensing. And we're very hopeful. I think this is going to be an extremely useful test, and I think it's going to be something which we would expect to be part of normal routine for a very large number of people, both intensive care, emergency, and I think younger and older people will want to know their NETs level for a whole lot of very good reasons. Because if you add up, it's the coup de grace in cancer, sepsis, COVID, influenza. It's an extremely common way of dying, and knowing early means you be treated early, and extremely important what we're doing, we believe. So exciting times. So back to, we went first in the vet space, and then during the pandemic, we went for the netosis, which is sepsis. And in the meantime, the team's also been doing a lot of background work in the human cancer space. I'll go through this reasonably quickly because lots going on. But we're out. We've targeted companies which we've got good high-level contacts with in both the sepsis and oncology space. There's over a dozen of them. And we're also going out quite widely now to all companies interested in oncology. We believe our platform is very licensable. And as we talked about, we're looking for upfronts and ongoing fees as we did in the vet space. There's two notable areas, and you'll also notice we've just started to make public the Nu-Q is also working in solid tumors. But the lung cancer work is with a great group in France, in Lyon, and with the national screening program in Taiwan. So very exciting. And we've also developed those little small chunks, a way to concentrate them and measure them, we call capture PCR. So oncology is also roaring back to be a big part of what we do. And again, like everything else, we think it's very licensable. It's in the process of being licensed now, and we hope to have a lot of information in the coming months on that. So the studies, at the sizes mentioned there, and used for a lot of different things, particularly in lung cancer, as an aid to screening, in Taiwan with low-dose screening, and in Lyon, along with sequencing. And we're also now working on data to use it as an independent frontline test. So extremely large amount of information in all these different areas, which again are actively being worked on with partners now with a view to license. and leverage their large sales force, their machines worldwide, and really get these tests out there as quickly as possible and get a good return for our shareholders. So our focus in the human cancer space, I think, is similar to the vet space, is similar to sepsis. Detect the disease early, which we're showing good signs of, provide tailored treatment, have access to response to treatment, identify minimal residual disease, and support continued treatment decisions. All those are very important. And also, we believe we've got the original platform working very well also in solid tumors in humans, including early stage. So you'll see some data on that coming out in the next few months as well, and we expect a paper. So the data room and the contacts, as I said, we have about a dozen bigger companies now interested in either or both of the sepsis and the cancer, and those discussions are proceeding very well. And we're also going out to a wider range with the teaser, which was actually made public because there's a few new things in there, which was made public through an 8K a couple of days ago. So a lot going on with a select group who we've got good high-level contacts with, who express interest, and a broader range of people going out now with the 2-page document, which is now public. So just a quick one on capture. So what is capture? Ultimately, anything is much easier if you can concentrate. We've shown now we can concentrate the chromatin fragments. Again, exactly the same platform as the magnetic bead from what we've used before in many other things. And through that, we can capture the small fragments, very epigenetically rich, and read them through PCR. So that can either be used to capture and concentrate for other people's technology, or with what we've developed through PCR. And it can be PCR because it's so concentrated, you don't need to do very deep sequencing. You can use a PCR. So very exciting. That is also part of the data room. That's also on the teaser, and that's also in the process of publication. So expect to see a lot more on that as well. And I think just to wrap up on the human side and on the licensing side, things are, there we are. So commercial strategy, I think we've talked about it quite a lot. We've done the R&D, we've patented extremely broadly and I think quite successfully. We're aiming to commercialize like we have very successfully with licensing in the animal space through a large amount of global players. And that's well underway now in the human space in both oncology and sepsis. And we've appointed someone to help us with that process in oncology. So expect to see a lot over the coming months. We're very excited with what we've developed. Excited and proud of what we've developed. Now it's time to commercialize and get a good return on investment in the platform. But I think the platform is going to be used in many, many different areas. So again, we're looking to do it through partners. They're established, they have the platforms already, therefore we can go very quickly, and they'll need to do their own regulatory work on their platform. So it saves us having to do all that as well. Low CapEx, low OpEx and routine, I have discussed that. So a quick summary. Revenue and veterinary cancer. So we've talked about that. That's in the process. It's ramping, and we have a lot more veterinary uses, including the automated machine, including in cats. We believe that's progressing very well as well as monitoring. And in the human side, we've got a lot of work in both sepsis and cancer, both of which are obviously extremely, extremely large markets. And the licensing is well underway. So I think I've covered all of that, and I'll finish so I can get some questions. Key financials were listed under VNRX, as we said, on the New York Stock Exchange American. So the market cap's a bit higher than that now, but anyway. And we completed a round a couple of months ago, as is public. So I'll go for questions. Question number one, are you providing any revenue guidance for 24 and 25? We provided some guidance with respect to how many vet kits we expect to sell, which is doubling or tripling from last year, hopefully tripling. Beyond that, we have not. And through next year, it's going to be a mixture of, we expect the veterinary ramping and also Discover, which is where we're using our IP to license to other people, which has also progressed quite well. And we're hoping in the next few months and next few quarters to also have large milestone payments for either some more things in the vet space or all for sepsis, also for human oncology, which our aim is to be revenue neutral, so what money comes in through a mixture of milestone payments and revenue meets the outgoings next year. And I think if we do license successfully in the human space, which we have obviously in the vet space, it's very achievable next year. Next question. So thoughts on our valuation and where you see the catalyst of re-rating of VNRX? It's a good question. Obviously, as a chief executive, I'm very disappointed with the overall market at the moment. Our valuation now, it's between 50 and 60 million. Obviously, I think does undervalue all the things we have going, but also it has taken a lot longer to get this to the level we were never going to commercialize until it was ready. And that's only been a couple of years now. And the vet side, the point of care only just launched a few months ago, and the human side we're licensing now. So overall market for small caps is obviously problematic. I think the first licensing in the human space, I think should go extremely well. I think seeing a vet raise through next year should really help us with evaluation. And I think also the first milestone payments on the human side showing a good chunk, like we expect to be as in the vet space, should really help us go through the next year. And really, I'm hoping the end of this year, next year, are really good takeoff years for us. Because our platform is absolutely ready for prime time. We've developed something incredibly unique, incredibly special. We're saving dogs' lives right now, and we expect to be saving human lives soon as well. And I think we have something very unique and extremely useful. So it should be a very good end of the year and next year, I would expect. There's another question. Are we seeking FDA approval? I guess that's the last question. On your human cancer products. There will be, I believe, FDA on them. So in sepsis and in oncology, our aim, they are very much products I think are going to be extremely useful. So they will be put through the FDA. But for example, in the sepsis space, they're going to be on the large machines we expect of the big companies. We don't want to sell them our machine or another company's machine. They want it on their own machine. So part of the licensing discussions we're having right now in both oncology and sepsis is to license to companies that will then put it on their platforms. And then they will have to get FDA approval through the process. We did speak to the FDA at a pre-sub meeting on the sepsis side, and they confirmed it will be a 510K, which is a study means in the mid-hundreds, not very large PMAs. So that's very encouraging. Those can be done in like 18 months. But again, we're not waiting for that for the first money. We would expect to get milestone payments and upfronts in the coming quarters like we did in the vet space. So I think there will be a lot of FDA work, but that will be done, we expect, through our partners. There's no point approving the platforms we currently work on because they have their own platforms and they want their platform, not ours. So that A, saves us money, and I B, think that's the quickest way to market. So overall, just a quick summary, and I think I'm on the last minute now. The sepsis side, we couldn't be happier with the platform that we have. Very large studies have now been completed. They're coming out in under a month's time at ESICM, a very big conference. The key opinion leaders have already seen the data and as we've made public, we're very, very happy. And the oncology side has really come to the fore as well. We're now in active licensing discussions, and we'd expect some news on that in the coming months as well. NuQ capture, all the great lung work, and we also have got NuQ platform working on solid tumours with also good accuracy, we believe. So you'll see a lot more on that as well. So it's taken some time to get all this to come together, but we're really firing in every area of our business, and Discover actually is also sort of coming through now. So all of this together, we aim to be revenue neutral next year, and then really launch through all the licensing deals through next year and the year after. So please stay with us, and it should be a very exciting time. Hopefully we can all save some lives of people in your lives as well. So thanks for your time. VNRX, our website is